What's up, everybody? This is Chewy here with you again. I've got a little, well, I'm not going to say little, this one might ramble, but we're going to go on and talk about FOB loadouts and how Chewy picks his FOBs. Now, it looks like there's some, there we go, we fixed that. All right. So what we've got going on here is how I run FOBs, equipment I use to run FOBs, and some other builds you may see used to run FOBs. What we're looking at here today, primarily that we're going to talk about, is the S1000 air shotgun, sleeping grenades, smoke grenades, noctocyanin, and a couple of other little gimmicks. But for the most part, you're going to see some common things that you'll probably see across other streams, or maybe if you're cruising around Reddit and YouTube, that other people are rocking and rolling with. Let's go into the most basic of these builds, which is going to rely mostly on the S1000 air shotgun. Now, it's important to note that with this weapon, on its own, it only comes with a rank 1 suppressor. You need to develop the S1000 lethal to get the rank 2 suppressor, unlock the legendary gunsmith, customize that bad boy, give yourself a rank 2 suppressor on this airsoft shotgun. Why is this weapon so important? If you look at the damage meter, that is non-lethal damage. That is enough damage to knock out a guard in rank 8 battle dress, rank 7 battle dress, and put them immediately on the ground in the stun animation. That's cool and all. Why I don't personally run with this weapon is because shock is considered the equivalent of a lethal round in a lot of alert situations. Firing this weapon will alert guards that can hear it, that are too close to the impact, that notice things are going on. This is, however, an amazing crisis weapon, and this is a weapon that in the right situations can be used to extensive effect and stealth. It is accurate up to about 60 meters, 70 meters if you know where you're aiming, and with headshots can take down at that range. So it's really, really a fantastic weapon if you're learning FOBs for the first time. Now, I'm not trying to discount the rank 5 version of this weapon. It is a 2-shot takedown. However, we'll go into why the rank 5, in my opinion, should just be the slug and why I use that in my loadout, but we'll cover that in a moment. Your lethal alternative to killing cameras, UAVs, mines, any other problem that may present itself is the 71 sniper. The magazine has been changed into the 7.62. That customization will give you 210 rounds of sniper power. With the rank 3 suppressor, which you probably won't have access to unless you're in the upper tier of the game, that's 90 shots silenced. But for rank 2, that's still a good amount of silenced manpower, or killing power without, even though you don't need it. This is more of, and why you should bring a lethal weapon to an FOB is more of a defender situation. If you actually want to do battle with the defender and get through your match, it's kind of imperative that you have an answer to what may be not solvable at, any other way. And snipers are fantastic for that. Personally, not what I run with, but if you're getting new and just started to FOBs, being able to take out a UAV and a camera at long ranges will kind of ease your mind and help you sort of into things. But we'll cover the whole strategies and things to consider when doing FOBs and all that in other videos. This is hopefully kind of primarily going to be focused on loadouts and the mentality behind some of the loadout choices. Now, the undermounted sleep grenade is again for a defender situation or in a loud combat alert that gives you the ability to knock out a large group of lethal staff and hopefully buy yourself a chance to escape, because just because the alarm's going off doesn't mean the FOB is over. It just means there's consequences. Secondary is kind of dealer's choice. I rock the Woo pistol. At rank 4 with the rank 2 suppressor, all of your shots will be silenced, and there's really no need for anything else, because anything above rank 5 security grade is going to have helmets where headshots will do her. So that's the important thing to consider, is that if you're using sleeping rounds, you need to be aiming for the face, and that's about the jaw and the nose. The eyes, if they're wearing night vision, is a little easier to aim for, but it's a little harder without. Woo pistol SB, just a note here, is a great weapon for non-lethal bases. It's the equivalent of the S1000 non-lethal. In a non-lethal base, it penetrates the sneaking suit, so you can shoot anywhere on the body and they immediately go to sleep. So we'll make that quick aside, we'll move on with our life. That's more of a top tier weapon. You'll get there if you keep trying and hanging out in FOBs. So support weapons. We're looking at a plethora here, and this is the meat of the loadout. What you're really looking for here is your weapons should be situational tools. Your support weapons and your items should be the main things that you're leaning on. So active decoys and decoys are great knockout tools. They're also great abilities to distract and move troops around. An active decoy on one corner of a platform will clear out about half of the platform. If you put it more towards the center, you can usually get about everybody on the platform if it's not a sniper, and they'll move towards the location. It's a great way to pull people off of towers. It's a great way to get people moving around. If you're in support, intel, combat, command, platforms where there's things vertical, it's a great way to pull people down and out of cover and into the exposed, where you can throw some sleep grenades or drop a sleep mine if that's your preference and have them knock themselves out. However, stun decoys are also great ways to kind of ensure areas. So let's say you have a guard in your path, you're behind cover, you quick throw a stun decoy, it hits the ground, the guard looks at it, it's at his feet, he goes, what's this? You pop it, he's knocked out. The other guard that you're actually worried about sees it, walks over, investigates the decoy because it will prioritize the decoy over its buddy, pop the decoy and knock himself out, and now you have a clear avenue on both and it's silent. So it's really a powerful tool as far as if you're playing that aggressive non-lethal build or you're in a crisis situation that you need to escape. Magazines, of course, should be your go-to distract toy. You can run FOBs purely on magazines alone. Final platforms, it's a little dicey, but magazines will move you across the first 3 platforms. They are great detection tools. You get those throwing arcs down, you can make some great throws and get people looking directions, especially in alerts. You need snipers to look at different directions so you can walk through their line of sight, throw a magazine, they'll stop looking down the scope, you'll be good to go. Smoke grenades are important to note that on lethal platforms where the soldiers are not wearing gas masks, they choke in the presence of a smoke grenade. It is a great way, even though if they're wearing night vision and can see through it, to incapacitate a vertical column of guards, move through and CQC them without them spotting you or having to deal with them in a different way. This is really important on platforms like Command and Combat and Intel. Sleep grenades, if you preface with those, will usually put those entire areas to sleep, but there'll be instances where you'll be caught and throwing a sleep grenade will put yourself to sleep, and smoke grenades are the way to go. On that one. Stun grenades, C4, and hand grenades are all situational tools. Stun grenades are great if you can afford to go loud for a second. Say you're sprinting for the door or making that final play. There's 6 guards on the door. 1 stun grenade drops them all. You don't have to worry about people moving. Boom, done deal. On you go. C4 and hand grenades are more for prepping a generator destruction area, so you can kind of come up with a zone, as you will, that will distract the enemies. Say on R&D, for example, where the generator is on the base of that platform, setting C4, popping the generator, everyone's now looking at the generator and the explosion. Meanwhile, you've been climbing pipes and working your way towards the door, and no one's checking out where you're at. So use your support weapons to maximum effect. Now with items, you have things like the cardboard boxes, which for a beginner player is great for dodging cameras. If a camera is spotted, your cardboard box ready to go, tap the D-pad, boom, you're under a box, the camera will not see you. It'll look at you and then it'll pass over. Same with UAVs. You can pop the box into the crawl animation by holding X or whatever your equivalent is on whatever platform you're playing on, and then crawl through a rank 1 laser grid because you're still technically crawling underneath it, and just stand still if the camera's looking at you. Feel free to use these kind of things to get yourself comfortable, because once you're comfortable moving through FOBs in certain ways, it's much easier to expand your playstyle and develop different strategies than it is to kind of come up with something at the start and then change midway through it. City box is what's going to make you invisible, as it were, on FOBs. The water resistant will also work in the rain. Noctocyanin allows you to see guards through the walls as if they were marked without the actual mark, if that makes sense. So when you mark a guard, the guard then stands behind cover. The guard's body exists in this blue silhouette, correct? This gives you that on every guard in its range, excuse me, without the red mark above their head. Pentazemin, I usually pop them both at the same time. It just steadies shots. It allows you to make those crucial millimeter thread the needle sort of between multiple railing headshots you might need to drop a guard in crisis situations. And night vision will help you see both in lethal and in non-lethal bases. In a non-lethal short-range base, for example, the shield will illuminate whereas their bodies will not, and it gives you great silhouettes as to where guards may be standing. It's a great scouting tool. That kind of covers the basics, I suppose, of the most cookie-cutter build. You're going to see the support weapons and items in all of the builds. We're going to talk about a couple different guns, but for the most part, you've caught the meat of it, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below, but for everyone else who's interested in a little more exposition, we're going to move forward. So here in Loadout 1, Loadout 2 is mine, but here in Loadout 1 you have a little bit of a difference in the fact that instead of using the Woo pistol, you're now using a non-lethal sniper rifle, which gives you 40 rounds of tranq power and the ability to send it really downrange, which, in all honesty, if you're playing correctly, this is probably the better call to make as far as a starting player. However, I didn't like the stopping power of the D114 against UAVs unless you could make those critical camera shots, so I went with a different route. However, the D1 is an amazing tool in a crisis situation. It will puncture a guard's helmet on the single shot, so any headshot doesn't, any headshot will do it on a guard, whereas you can normally only hit them in the face. It can down UAVs in a couple quick shots. It'll down them in, I believe, 1 or 2 in the camera, and in cameras it can take them out in 1 or 2, 1 if you hit the lens, 2 if you hit elsewhere. So it's really a powerful pistol, and it really compensates a full non-lethal build as far as, very quick, very quiet. Say you want to destroy some anti-theft devices and steal containers. It's a great weapon for doing that. So let's talk about my build and what I've kind of gravitated to. Now, I've run a lot of FOBs, about 3,000 of them now. I've succeeded a little over 1,400 or so, or getting close to, and this is kind of what I've come up with. I love the Woo pistol. It is my go-to weapon, and I will never leave the Mark 22 behind. This is a fantastic compensation of both. The reason why I prefer tranq rounds over stun rounds is because a tranq round placed into a hard surface will distract the guard as if the guard heard a magazine or similar noise. It won't freak them out like a bullet will. So in this instance, having so much power to actually move guards around as well as being able to tranq guards at very considerable ranges. Woo pistol is a highly effective weapon up to 70-80 meters. If you know where you're aiming. So you have a lot of power as far as aggressive non-lethal, and as well as rocking these lower digits as far as rank 5 and rank 4. The reason I do this is because past a certain point, it really doesn't matter. If you hit a guard in the face, it's going to go down regardless if it's low damage or high damage. If it's wearing battle dress, you can't deal damage to it with a tranq round. So what's the point of having this super expensive loadout? So I would like to call this my more considerate loadout, I guess, to the newer players, because I tend to run pretty expensive these days. Now, the big elephant in the room is the S1000 Slug rank 5. Why is this, Chewy? Well, I prefer weapons that are one-hit downs. I don't like having to shoot guards multiple times. I don't like having to unload on a guard to keep him in stun animation long enough for me to get there to CQC or hold him up or whatever the case may be. I prefer weapons that knock down, but I need a weapon in my build that allows me to deal with cameras and UAVs. The S1000 Slug is my answer to all of this. It's effective up to 70 meters if you aim right, 50 meters and more accuracy, or more realistic terms, I suppose. It'll knock a guard down at rank 5, but it won't kill them, which is great. It won't put them in the wounded animation most of the time unless they're rocking under rank 5 or E rank guards. This is really important. In the wounded animation, they make a lot of noise, and they also become a time issue. If you're trying to get that perfect stealth, no kills, you need to Fulton that guard or get through the door before he bleeds out. So I'd rather have guards that just hit the ground. They're on the ground. Why is that important, Chewy? Walk up and point your gun at him. You're going to hold him up. Instantly dealt with. The problem solved. Now the guard is also a non-lethal takedown. You've made the same noise as the stun round, and you've gotten the same effect at the end of the day. So that's my preference, honestly. One-shot cameras, one-shot UAVs. It's a great weapon. It's how I prefer to play. The great thing about FOBs is it's all about how you do you, baby. Like, freeform gameplay at its finest in tactical espionage. That's my favorite part about FOBs. This is a great part about this whole loadout system. The whole choices you have. You can go full lethal and wreak hell, and there are great streamers and YouTubers out there who demonstrate that. So thank you so much for tuning into this hopefully informational video about FOB basics, FOB loadouts. There's going to be more content coming in the very near future about actually running FOBs, the basics of items in FOBs, FOB items in practice, and all that great stuff. So thank you very much for your time. Please come by, check out the stream, twitch.tv/ChewyDon. Please check out Konami official Team K Code, which I'm a member of over at twitch.tv/team/kcode, or you can come to my channel. There's a link right there. Check out all the great MGO and FOB streamers that they've got going on. We'd love to hear your ideas about FOBs. We'd love to hear your comments. We're trying to get some things together, maybe communicate with the dev team about how we can possibly improve upon FOB infrastructure. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for your time. Like the video, subscribe below, comment, ask questions, come by the Twitch stream, ask me questions for yourself and get them answered personally in live. Thanks for your time. Until next time, guys, happy FOBing.